Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Read Fallout Equestria.
Greet you if I can't see you. If you remove my armor, I will die. I blinked, gaping at him, eyeing the huge dent crushed into his side.
There's a possibility he's right.
I possess Velvet Remedy's medical insight.
There's a chance
but
that the armor's what's keeping him together at that point.
Velvet pulled back, canceling her spell. Well, that seems like a design flaw. The armor is meant to keep me alive, Steelhoof said a touch defensively. Open the armor plate over my left flank. Velvet Remedy did so, revealing a system for administering drugs and medical potions, everything from Ch14. I don't even recognize some of these drugs, Velvet said in surprise.
They're actual
drugs.
The
armor has a doctor enchantment. If it was working, I would be fully healed already.
I was still looking over the injection system, casually observing. It doesn't have a system for party... Little Pip. Velvet Remedy scolded, silencing me. I stepped back, cowed. I turned my mind from the drugs, instead focusing on the failure of the magically powered armor's spell matrix. If this was a pip buck, I could easily...
Same technology.
I blurted, already knowing exactly what to do. Velvet Remedy gave me a look. Little Pip, she hissed dangerously. I couldn't blame her. It had only been a second since I made the other observation. She didn't have any appreciation for how fast I could think right now. If she did, maybe she wouldn't be so fast to take my party time mintals away.
I would.
No.
I'd still take him away.
I know how to fix him. I can restore power to his armor and reboot the spell matrix. I beamed. The suit designer obviously incorporated Stable-Tech arcane technology. It's really not that different
Fucking
from
Stable-Tech. It's everywhere.
Velvet's expression softened. Well then, don't just stand there. She smiled, backing out of my way, careful not to move closer to the minefield. I trotted forward and came crashing back to reality. Recognition of my mistake mixed with the crushing depression that flooded me in the wake of party time mintals wearing off. In a moment, I was stupid, ignorant, and dumb. I can't, I moaned. But you just said... I don't have the right tools. I felt like crying. The Steel Ranger was going to die, imprisoned in his armor, because I wasn't a certified Stable-Tech pip-buck technician. My utility barding didn't include a spell matrix master key. Reluctantly, I admitted as much. Velvet Remedy walked to me, wobbling a little, still faint from loss of blood. She wrapped her tail over me, whispering comfortingly into my ear.
A spell matrix master key.
The voice of Steelhoof sounded hopeful rather than resigned.
You might be able to find one in Stable 29.
We were going into another stable. I felt myself tremble at the thought. From apprehension more than a physical weakness, I assumed, Velvet Remedy had rebound my wounds. Calamity limped up to me. Remember, little Pip, this isn't your stable. I nodded. I was still in grips of the post-PTM depression. I knew I wasn't in any condition, mentally, to be doing this. But Steelhoof needed the help, and we owed him.
I've changed my mind,
the Steel Ranger protested.
I cannot allow you to go into a stable for me.
His sense of hope had swiftly been squelched by a stubborn nobility that I both understood and rejected. I wasn't the only one. Oh, well then, come right over here and stop us, Velvet Remedy suggested. Then added, oh, right. You can't.
Oh, don't be a bitch.
Your bedside manner is horrible,
the voice from the inside of the armor reported. I looked at the three of us. We were in no condition to travel into unknown and likely hostile territory. Each one of us could barely stand as it was.
I won't tell you where the entrance is,
Steelhoof said dissuasively. Calamity whinnied. Pony hole cover marked stable 29. Near the Fetlock passenger wagon stop? Steelhoofs pointedly said nothing. Calamity leaned over. And Velvet Remedy thought there was nothing interesting under that passenger wagon. It took us much longer to reach it than I remembered. We were moving gingerly, avoiding marks of red on my EFS compass. Right now, I felt a few rad roaches could finish us off.
Probably could.
Calamity was
flying, dangerous.
Keeping all weight off of his leg. He looked at the passenger wagon and announced too cheerfully, well, I hope your levitation is back to full impressiveness, little Pip. Unless we've found a flux regulator and nobody's told me, moving that thing will be up to you. I laid down. I needed time to fully focus on the passenger wagon. Sky Bandit stages, I noted pointlessly. And that meant not diverting my energies to remaining upright. My horn lit up as I concentrated on the huge wagon. Magical power enveloped it. I pushed, converging all my will into moving the vehicle. My horn flared. A layer of overglow burst around it. The wagon began to rock, groaning. Sweat broke out across my forehead. I began to have trouble breathing. Somewhere distant, Velvet Remedy was being concerned, but I blocked it out. A second layer of overglow erupted around my horn, and the whole wagon lifted several feet into the air and was shoved back onto the sidewalk. I let it down gently, then collapsed, exhausted. I could see the pony hole cover.
Now you gotta climb down
Sleep
there.
now.
Little Pip is so
How
fucked.
long was I out? I asked, aghast. Long enough to get some much-needed sleep, Velvet soothed. I rested my eyes a little myself. We were in a short maintenance tunnel. On one end, a door led to even more maintenance tunnels that snaked all under fetlock. On the other, 3 steps led up to the massive door of Stable 29. Calamity was standing on 3 hoofs, his crippled foreleg lifted, and stared at the control mechanism. "Well, this is a bust," he proclaimed. It looked like Stable 29 had never opened, and without an override password it was unlikely we were going to be getting in. Still, I went to work at it. My mind still felt sluggish, and I considered munching a Mintow. Even the non-party flavor would help. But I didn't want Velvet Remedy or Calamity to think I needed them. I didn't. They just made me a better me. After invading the control system,
It's interesting to see the perspective of a fucking druggie.
I think I found a back door. Where? Calamity asked, looking up at the pony hole. Is it far? I shook my head. No, I mean in the system. A 3-part key is required to bypass the normal security. What kind of key? Velvet Remedy questioned. Voice recognition. 3 different voices are required, I informed them. Then, before any pony pointed out the fact that there were coincidentally 3 of us, I explained. It has to be the right 3 voices. What is being said doesn't seem to matter, just who's saying it. It was a very interesting back door at that. I wondered just what had prompted such a design, and if all stables had the same security hole. Whose 3 voices?
Ah.
I thought for a moment and cursed
That's
how
kind
slow
of a
my brain
dumb
was. Then I remembered Stable 2's override code. CMC3BFF. I think I know. The first voice was the one that took the longest, simply because I didn't have a recording of it. Instead, we sat there listening to DJ Pony on the radio, waiting for his selection of songs to cycle through. For the first and only time, I was actually grateful that his radio broadcasted such a limited selection of music. Good evening, every pony. This is your humble host, DJ Pony, master of the airwaves. And it's just about time for me to turn in. But first, the news.
I'll talk about
Looks
the
like our
security
wasteland
system later.
crusader from Stable 2 is an equal opportunity savior. From the reports I'm getting, she and her companions helped out a bunch of raiders up at Shattered Hoof from being enslaved and decimated by an attacking slaver army. And then, because you can't have a cupcake without icing, she killed a dragon. Luna, damn it, why wasn't it ever Calamity and his companions, or his radio broadcasted such a limited selection of music? Good evening, every pony. This is your humble host, DJ Pony, master of the airwaves. And it's just about time for me to turn in. But first, the news. Looks like our wasteland crusader from Stable 2 is an equal opportunity savior.
Didn't they think
From
she
the reports
died?
I'm getting, she and her companions helped out a bunch of raiders up at Shattered Hoof from being enslaved and,
what's
decimated
Stable
by an attacking
1?
slaver army.
I mean, if Sweetie Belle was
And
Stable
then,
2,
because
then
you
who's
can't have a
goes
cupcake
Stable
without
1?
icing, she killed a dragon. Luna, damn it, why wasn't it ever Calamity and his companions, or Velvet Remedy and her entourage? Don't know if I agree with you on this one, kid. Saving raiders. Some monsters deserve to be enslaved. Perfect. Also in the news, got another report of hellhounds attacking travelers in the wasteland between Manhattan and Philadelphia. Honestly, ponies, if you have to travel that way, make sure you have a heavily armed escort. And if you don't, just don't. This has been a DJ Pony survival tip. Tune in for more tips in the series, including grenades aren't for eating and raiders do not want to be your friend. But first, it's Sweetie Belle singing The Dark Days Are Over. I leapt up. Here we go, ponies. Back at the controls, I fed the voice pattern recognition spell the first few lines of the song, mentally noting to record the song for use if I had the deep misfortune to have to enter a stable for the 3rd time.
You will.
I followed with snippets of 2 recordings.
And there's so much in stables.
The
I mean,
override
they have...
code for opening the door to Stable 2 is CM.
Like, why wouldn't you have to enter stables again? I mean, they have the technology for clean water. They could self-grow their own food. They are sheltered from radiation. Like, you're going to have to go in there. Like, maybe you need some water. there's a stable over there. Let's get that water pump working in. Or maybe you need some food. Like, hey, there's a stable. Let's see if they got anything. Like, goddamn. Or there's a radiation storm. Like, there's a stable. Let's go hunker down. Like, prepare, because you will have to come back.
C3BFF. Hello, my name is Scootaloo. You probably know me since I am pretty famous for my awesome performances at events like last year's Gallops, or maybe just as the founder of Red Racer. With a mighty hiss and a draconic groan of protest, the door to Stable 29 began to move. I turned to find Velvet Remedy walking past me to face the door. The gorgeous mare had donned her beautiful dress and groomed her mane. I shot a look to Calamity, who merely shrugged. Velvet? The dress hid most of her bandages. We're meeting ponies of another stable for the first time. We want to put our best foot forward, she said aristocratically. Especially if they've never had outside visitors before. We want to look like diplomats. Her eye moved to look at me without turning her head. If you two went in first, we'd look like invaders. The vast metal door swung away, and Velvet Remedy stepped inside Stable 29 regally and without hesitation. Calamity limped up to me as I watched her disappear inside. She's really something, ain't she? Yes.
Oh, something bad happened to this vault, didn't it?
I glanced at Calamity, who was staring through the door at Velvet. I did a double take. Calamity wasn't looking at Velvet Remedy. He was looking at her. Something broke in my brain. No. No, that was just... No. No, he asked, confused, his eyes not leaving her haunches. I stammered, recovering. No, not no. I mean, yes. Yes, she is. She's... mine.
No.
Damn it. This was not fair. I loved Velvet Remedy. I had since long before Calamity ever met her. Yes, I knew I didn't actually have a chance with her. She was... her. And I was just... me. And I knew all about swinging barn doors. But...
Get over it,
I took the mental image
man.
of Calamity successfully wooing Velvet Remedy when I could not and shoved it into a deep, dark hole. Then filled that hole in. Then
It's
built
not
a
that you
house on
couldn't
top
woo
of
her, it's
hole
just
and
that
moved
she
into
doesn't
it.
swing your way. If she did, you
I
probably have a
focused
good
instead on the
chance.
pristine but extremely gloomy interior of Stable 9. At first glance, it looked perfectly preserved. A gasp from Velvet Remedy
That's
shattered
how
that
you know
illusion.
something's wrong.
Velvet was backing away from the remains of a skeleton dangling overhead from part of the door mechanism, its midsection pulverized. Velvet wavered, looking about to faint. I grimaced, looking at Calamity, who rushed over to steady her. This was an ominous start. 2 metal doors offered us 2 options, maintenance or atrium. My eyes forward sparkle was clear of any red. For that matter, it was completely clear of anything other than my 2 companions. There was no life in this stable, at least not within the range of my pit-buck's spell. The stable was utterly silent, save for the ever-present high-pitched hum of the lights and gentle rumble of the generators. This place is a tomb, Calamity voiced. Maintenance should take us directly to the pit-buck technician's stall. But the atrium would lead to the clinic, and we were in desperate need of medical supplies. On the off chance there was something lurking in Stable 29, we needed the medical supplies before we did any wandering.
The atrium will
I
also
passed my
lead you
logic
to the
by Velvet
overseer's
Remedy and
office,
Calamity,
and you can
they
find
both
out what
agreed,
happened.
Calamity wincing as the hoof of his injured leg brushed against the floor. I stepped forward and the door to the atrium slid up. Stepping inside, my eyes immediately fell on the skeletons of at least 3 dozen other ponies. They were strewn about the room, but the highest concentration was right at my hooves. I had to use telekinesis to clear a path through the bones of the ponies lucky enough to have made it into a stable before the megaspell destroyed Manhattan. I felt anger biting at the back of my head. I reminded myself it wasn't my stable. There was a lot of other debris in the atrium as well. Bottles of beer and whiskey, scotch and wine, most of them empty and many shattered. Dresses and gentle pony wear turned greasy with decay. In the far back, a sound system was riddled with bullet holes. Do you think they... Velvet's voice trailed off. She was looking behind us just above the door we had come through. 2 automated security turrets were mounted on the wall. They had power but didn't seem to be tracking us. My EFS claimed they were not a threat. The room suggested that had not always been the case. I looked up towards the circular window of the overman's
the
office.
security system. I
Only
was about to say, I forgot
there
what I was
wasn't
going to
one.
talk about after this is over.
The wall was blank and featureless where the
But
window
no.
should be. The stairwell that should lead up to the security center in the Overmare's offices was there, but it was simply labeled security. I found myself getting irrationally upset at the incorrectness of the stable design. Again. Behind me, I heard Calamity whispering to Velvet. She's had some bad reactions to a stable before. What, was I that obvious? We better keep an eye on her. Oh, perfect. Now, they were going to be my parents.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Hey, who is Lil Pip's
Okay, there
parents?
doesn't seem to
Are
be
they
any
ever
immediate
brought up?
danger. We should split up to save time. Velvet, why don't you raid the clinic? It was safe. I could see into the clinic through the atrium window. Calamity and I would head down to maintenance. Velvet and Remedy argued. No, Calamity should stay with me. I barely kept myself from stomping. Velvet Remedy continued simply. I want to mend that leg as soon as possible. I can use my magic to heal the bone once I have it set properly. Fine. I groused mentally.
Okay. That's a good reason. I was about to go ape shit, because you're close enough to the clinic, you know it's safe, there's nothing around, but Lil Pip's going somewhere where she hasn't had the eyes for its sparkle tell her if they're enemies or not, so bringing Calamity would be smart. And I was about to say, she's saying, I was about to get mad. I was about to get mad. But, okay, she has a good reason. Ooh, if it was some stupid reason, because Lil Pip's way too tired and low on ammo to do much on her own. So if there is something down there.
Then, sounding as pleasant as I could. Of course, no problem. I don't need any help finding the Pip-Buck technician stall anyway. That is, assuming the rest of this place wasn't laid out bizarrely. I'll be back before you're done. I started to trot back through the door. Velvet Remedy stopped me with a soft voice. Little Pip, are you alright? I waved a hoof. Oh, yes, I'm just feeling a little drained. Blood loss, you know. I put on a good smile.
That passive
She looked like she was trying to be
aggressiveness.
convinced. Okay, I'm a bit surprised. But I'm happy. It's a good thing that my two friends like each other. Calamity coughed. Wait, what? He nickered. She's a self-righteous, self-idolizing elitist who'd rather fix up our enemies than shoot 'em. Velvet Remedy shot him a scowl. And he's an impulsive ruffian who thinks he can fix the wasteland by drowning it in blood. By the goddesses, could they be any more obvious? I left before I screamed. I spent the rest of the trip down through stable maintenance reminding myself that it actually was a good thing that my friends got along. That it was stupid to be jealous when I'd have no real chance to begin with, and that if I wanted to keep those friends, I'd best bury these feelings in that same dark hole.
Don't bury
I
them,
wondered
you
just
have
how
to
long this had been
confront
going
them.
on. Was it new? Had there been signs that I was too oblivious to catch? Or had I just not wanted to catch them?
Both.
The idea of catching them brought an entirely unwanted mental image of Velvet and Calamity to mind that I quickly shredded and burned. This was going to be hard. You know what would make being cheerful for them easy? A little pony in my head waved a tin at me. Fuck that little pony. I wanted to follow just a little longer. A little light appeared on my EFS compass. It was not hostile. Did one of them come down here after me? If so, how did they get ahead of me? A moment later, a maintenance bot hovered out of one of the stalls, its multiple limbs bobbing as it cleaned the wall. No wonder this place looked spotless. I felt a spark of annoyance that we didn't have a wall-washing robot in Stable 2 maintenance. I'd had to wash the walls of my stall by hoof. The robot started to clean in my direction. I decided to get out of its way by ducking into the robotics technician stall. The room was filled with maintenance bots in various states of disrepair. There were enough tools in here to upgrade Calamity's workshop plans. I began looting. The robotics technician's back office had been burned black. I found the charred skeletons of 2 ponies along with a partially dismantled medical bot. From the looks of it, some pony had made a fatal error while working on it, causing the sanitary flamethrower to go off wildly. The maintenance bot passed by in the hall.
Sanitary
At the back
flamethrower!
of the burned office was a safe. The paint on the wall
Is that
around it bubbled
is that
up
a
cooling.
thing?
The safe itself had feared nothing from the fire. I slipped out my screwdriver and bobby pin, only to discover the safe wasn't locked. Already in a bad mood, I felt cheated. Inside was a flask of apple whiskey, a pouch of 200-year-old old-fashioned gourmet honey drops, a tin of sadly normal mint owls, several maintenance clipboards, and a recording. Leaving the clipboards, I downloaded the recording into my Pip-Buck and gave it a listen. This is Mender, reporting on diagnostic progress for Kannekin's household utility bot. Stayed up all night probing through this thing's programming. Wanted to see the report ready in time for the funeral. From what I can tell, looks like the robot suffered a glitch while receiving an automated update to its subroutines from StableTech. That's really the only explanation I have for how it gave Kannekin a cup of steaming hot industrial solvent rather than coffee. All those pony folk who whispered old Kannekin was going to drink himself to death are probably choking on their words right now. If not, they should be. I saw the poor fellow before they incinerated him. His whole mouth and throat were eaten away. I've had nightmares about it for days. I plan to talk to Shadowhorn later today. I want all the house helpers to be shut down until we can check each one of them. Of course, that's going to take some doing and a lot of time. I know it's entirely uncomely of me to use Kannekin's jet to push my own agenda, but this is just another example of why I think we need an unstable authority. How can the ponies of StableTech possibly expect to properly govern the stable if they're not here, seeing what's going on? That was unexpected. And gruesome. I tried to shove the mental image of Kannekin out of my head, centering my thoughts instead on the idea of a stable without an overmare at all. A stable run remotely by StableTech.
Oh, this okay, so we know that in this one, instead of the whole evil experimentation for a space colony or space something that StableTech was originally Vault Tech was trying to do. In this one, they're doing the trying to see what societies work without a need for warfare, which is impossible, because warfare is just a natural progression of. Okay, well, I know what I want to say on that front about war being natural, not necessarily good, but natural part of civilization. You can't have a civilization without at least some degree of warfare. Now, when I say it has to have warfare, I mean there are varying degrees of it, but it's always going to be there. The drive of competition and stuff. Like, war doesn't inherently need to be violent. Like, there are, well, before the Zulus, or Shaka Zulu, South African warfare was mainly, it was more of a sport. It was basically, yeah, occasionally one or two people died, but it was largely non-violent. Well, non-deadly. So, yeah, on some level, warfare is always going to exist, and that's why StableTech kind of fails, because they're trying to create societies where war and not really, well, kind of, yeah, struggle, I guess, don't happen, because the CMC are kind of dumbasses. And like you say, KCAD, they don't know social engineering doesn't work, or at least not on this kind of scale. And they don't know that their end goal, a society where the Great War would never happen again, is also impossible. Because inherently warfare on some level it's just a part. So, anyways, I got off track on what I was want to say. For this one, it seems like they're doing a technocrat utopia. Basically, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the right phrase. But basically a society where all concerns seem to be maintained by household robots. Basically a robotic paradise. What would you call that kind of government or society? It's not technocrat, because the people aren't really doing anything. There's no robotic anarchy, because there's no government. AI utopia? I don't know. But because that's kind of government that would really get fucked up. All it takes is one glitch, and it all goes to hell. And then, like this guy, he's shutting down all the robots. Well, you can't do that because the plebs need their bread and circuses. This is a stable that society has been built around all your needs being taken care of by machines, like your laundry, your cooking, your cleaning, all of it being handled by machines, and you shut them all down. People are going to get mad because they don't want to do anything themselves. So basically the CMC keep fucking over their vaults. Or basically only Vault 2 seems to be working properly.
The Pitbuck technician's stall was right where it was supposed to be. I was surprised, relieved, and a touch annoyed that I should feel either. The technician's spell matrix master key was locked away in a cabinet along with dozens of other enchanted precision tools that mere apprentices like myself were not allowed access to.
Take them all.
I floated out my screwdriver and bobby pin once more. A few minutes later, my armored utility barding was fully loaded with everything I could need for advanced pitbuck repair. And, at least in theory, everything necessary to restore the flow of magical power to Steelhoof's armor.
He's gonna be dead, ain't he?
And just in case, I packed several spark batteries and a small magical field conducting array. The office of this stable's head technician lacked the hammock that had so often bore my teacher's weight back in Stable 2. I shook my head, giving the stall one more look before leaving to rejoin my friends. I spotted an audio journal amongst the items scattered across the technician's desk. Sit here and play the journal, or trot back to find Velvet Remedy and Calamity.
Take the journal with
Together.
you.
Hopefully not kissing. Okay, journal it was. Shadowhorn called us into a meeting this morning. We nearly had a major disaster yesterday. That idiot Buckbright brought his Colt a BB gun for his birthday. Then brought the kid down to the reactor level for target practice. What was he thinking? Kid missed a radroach and punched a small hole in the environmental system. Actually nicked the water talisman. Thankfully it's working fine, but another half-inch and this whole stable would be in serious trouble.
That a reference to Fallout 3 prologue, K-Cat. I mean, hey. Credit where he's due. He didn't set up the target practice in the reactor room. It was the room next to the reactor room. Give dumbass dad a little credit there.
As head of maintenance, Shadowhorn laid down a whole new series of safety protocols. They aren't official until she gets them passed through Stabletech, but we're going to follow them anyway. If Stabletech doesn't like somebody giving orders for them, well, they can trot themselves down here and say it differently.
Stabletech's
Velvet Remedy
dead,
pushed
guys.
3 jars of extra strength restoration potion over to me. Drink these, you'll be in perfect health in 10 minutes. I was shocked. Shouldn't we take these with us? Use them sparingly? Velvet Remedy shook her head. She was looking a lot better. She had stowed away her dress and removed her bandages. Her hide was perfect. Her coat looked pristine and healthy. She had a couple IV bags draped over her haunches, with surgical tubing running to a spot beneath her left shoulder. No need. I've already stored a dozen more away for our travels, plus plenty of bandages, some braces, blood packs, and a few more things. For the first time, we're positively flush with medical supplies. I'd say this clinic was a gift from the goddesses, but I know better. I raised an eyebrow as I floated the first potion to my lips. Velvet Remedy slid me a recording. I found this while I was requisitioning supplies. I smirked at her reluctance to call it looting or scavenging. I downed 2 of the extra strength restoration potions and slipped the third into my saddlebags. Memories of Velvet, her hide shredded and bloody, had resurfaced in my mind. I could handle being mostly healed if it meant I had one of these ready in case of an emergency. Calamity also looked much better. He complained that after Velvet Remedy's mending spell, the brace wasn't really necessary, but she insisted that he keep it on for at least another day. I walked about the clinic, looking for a good spot to sit down and listen to the recording. I frowned at it, expecting bad things. Recordings so rarely carried good things in the equestrian wasteland. Especially, it seemed, in stables.
True.
I found a chemistry lab in the back of the clinic. For a moment, all thoughts of the recording fled my mind. Looking over the drugs and supplies, I realized that along with what I had already, I had all the ingredients to cook up a batch of my own party time mint owls. And having the ability and opportunity, I couldn't resist. It would have been silly to. As I started work, I remembered why I had come back here. I let the recording play as I ground down the regular, boring old mint owls into a fine powder. Oh. The voice was filled with so much raw despair that I quickly shut off the recording. I didn't want to hear that. I concentrated on my chem cooking for several long minutes, the recording just sitting there on the counter staring balefully at me. Finally, with a huff, I turned it back on. How could this have happened? The doctor and I just stepped out for a few minutes. When we came back, the clinic had sealed itself and the fire suppression system had activated, flooding the entire clinic with... It took us an hour to get it open again. We tried breaking through the windows.
With what?
It's armored. Why would they armor the window? Every pony inside had choked to death. Lemongrass had only been in there to have her stitches out. She was planning for her daughter's quinceañera this evening and had talked to me about what flavor of cake to get from the dispensers. The Orange's new colt was still in the clinic nursery. Oh gosh. I don't think any ponies told them yet. I shut it off again. My heart was twisted up in knots. Part of me wanted to cry. Part wanted to rage at something. but there wasn't anything obvious to rage at. So I raged at the faucet, beating my hooves against it for refusing to give me water. It was stupid, but it felt good. Finally, after pouring water from my canteen, I finished mixing the concoction and set it to bake.
You're using your drinking
The
water?
sound of machine gun fire snapped my attention away. All thoughts of journals, mint tiles, and chemistry evaporated when I heard Velvet Remedy cry out. My friends were in trouble. As I turned, 2 red spots lit up on my EFS compass. The turrets had become hostile. Dashing back into the central clinic, I saw Calamity
is going on?
overturned medical benches, the 2 turrets outside. Above.
Okay, we're going to continue this next time. What is the secret of this vault? Anyways, the problem with using that security system is, what if someone else needs to get in? Like, what if you 3, aren't around? Like, right now. Scootaloo, Sweetabelle, Applebloom, one of you 3 aren't around. You didn't think of that, did you? Because the Cutie Mark Crusaders kind of dumbasses. Well, at least in this they are. Well, not so much. I can't call them dumbasses because they, as ponies and as a society of the Society of Equestria, doesn't have any experience doing this sort of thing. And 2, what happened to the fucking vault? I'm thinking that there's a quirk in the security system and just start killing all the ponies. But why? You better explain this in the story, K-Cat, or if you don't, I will find you and I will make you explain what happened to this vault. Because that's where half the fun of vaults come from. Like, half of the fun of exploring a vault is learning what happened. Now, I take that back. The whole reason we as players go to vaults in the game is to learn what the hell happened. Like, what crazy shit went down. Anyways, while finding vaults and seeing them decimated and learning what happened is... So, while learning about vaults and what happened to them when they go wrong is fun, it's actually way more shocking and even satisfying to find a vault that's still alive. Like, I have so much fun in the beginning of Fallout 3 because the vault is populated and people live there. What's the vault called in Fallout 4? Vault 81? I think it's called Vault 81. Where you get Curie, that adorable Miss Handy robot, whatever it's called, Miss Nanny? I don't know. But she is adorable. But, yeah, it was awesome finding a vault still populated. It's like, this is cool. Like, that's really good. I wonder if that's happening here. Do you even have any vaults that are still populated other than Vault 2? Will we even get to meet them? Like, how many of these vaults failed? It makes it even sadder, because in the Fallout series, the vaults were experiments where things were supposed to go wrong. So Vault-Tec, well, the Enclave, basically, Vault-Tec, the members of Vault-Tec later on become part of the Enclave, along with the presidential branch of the U.S. government. It's complicated. But fuck it. I gotta cut the video now. I better learn what the hell happened in this vault.